as I was working at the Cheesecake Factory, the meaning was really, really big for me, because my philosophy is, if I lose sleep doing what I love, I'll eventually have what I want. Like I just, the only thing that I can give up was my hours of sleep. And I used to sleep till 10 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. But if I can cut sleep a little bit, I can just get more done, right? Yeah. But then it evolved into a message of entrepreneurship, where you're not just sleeping in the bed, but watching TV all day or gaming all day, and you're not getting paid for it. People are sleepwalking, scrolling on social media. You just sleep. Yeah. In this time frame, you are not conscious about what's going on around you.
Hey there, welcome to the Shattered Mindset Podcast. Wisdom from life's turning points and defining moments. I'm your host, Melvin Larry, and I'm just excited to be here. Today's guest is someone who not only inspires me personally, but has also served as a mentor to me on this podcasting journey. I'm really excited about David Shands being with us today. He's a definition of what it means to evolve, to build, and to live intentionally. So from folding aprons in the Cheesecake Factory to building a business empire, David's story is one of vision, consistency, and bold execution. He's the founder of the iconic brand Sleep is for Suckers, the host of the widely respected Social Proof podcast, and the creator of the Morning Meetup, the largest daily call for entrepreneurs in the country. He's also the author of Dreams Are Built Overnight and Networking No Nos. And he's the architect of the 7-figure podcast program, where he teaches others how to use their voice to build platforms, businesses, and legacies. But what makes this moment meaningful is that David doesn't just teach theory, he lives the principles he shares. He's walked through the uncertainty, stayed consistent when the feelings faded, and built something that outlives trends. So whether you're here as a dreamer, a builder, or a person navigating the weight of leadership and legacy, this episode is for you. So welcome, David Shands. How you doing, sir?
I am awesome. That is a really good intro.
Was it?
I want to learn from that guy. He's done a bunch of stuff, or he's super confused.
So glad. I'm just so excited about being here with you, my friend.
I am honored to be here, man. So I think I knew you before you knew me.
Wow, that says something.
Yeah, I knew you before you knew me, for sure.
Tell me about that.
I think I was 17 years old. I signed up to be a LegalShield member, which was prepaid legal at the time. Yeah. I was 17. I lied on my application to say I was 18, because you had to be 18 to get started. Lied on that application.
That shows tenacity.
100%, or dishonesty. One of them. But I had to go get it, man. And you had this book of ring earners, and you just flip through the pages of all these people who are ring earners, meaning making over $100,000. Yeah. And I just remember you and your wife Melvin and Sharon, Larry, in the book, and it was just I just remember it. So years later, when I see you, I'm like, I know that guy. Wow, I know that guy.
That's impressive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's impressive. And when I think about something like that, and going from that place, and then me sitting here with you right now, it's not the same, but it has kind of the same connotation as the student becomes the teacher, because I'm learning so much from you, and you going from a 17-year-old person trying to figure some things out to being a mentor to tons and tons of people. It's just quite a transition. And, you really impacted a lot of people in a lot of ways. What is it that took you from that person at 17, 18, to where you are now? I mean, what was there a defining moment that helped you to say, I'm going to a new chapter. I'm doing something different.
Well, I don't know if there was one defining moment, but I think there were like thousands of defining moments that happen in our life.
Yeah.
And we recognize them as a defining moment. So some people say, well, they may be in a tough situation for the last 6 years, and they're like, you have it. They may be waiting for their defining moment when them joints hit. And I'm just looking at my life, and we get to make what a defining moment means. Meaning, one defining moment was when Alistair Edwards. When I was working, I think I was working at Circuit City at that time, and I think I joined Prepaid Legal, and I remember Alistair Edwards. He was working at Publix, but he was also an entrepreneur on the side, and he used to carry these checks with him.
Oh yeah,
he would carry his paycheck, but also his side money check.
Yes, exactly.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Or there's a defining moment when I first got turned on to Jim Rohn, and he said, "Work harder on your job than you work harder on yourself than you're doing your job."
Exactly.
Defining moments. I remember defining moments of working at the Cheesecake Factory, and when I got my 3-year pin, saying I've been there for 3 years, that was a defining moment for me. I was like, I haven't been here for 3 years. In my mind, I haven't been here for 3 years.
Okay.
On paper, I have, but my manager says, "You've been here for 3 years." I'm like, "Are you sure? Check the books." He said, "Yeah, we looked at it this morning." He said, "Time flies when you're having fun."
It flies when you're not having fun too.
Right. He thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I said, "I'm getting older. I don't even remember this being a 3-year period of me working here, because I wasn't supposed to be here for 3 years."
But being at the Cheesecake Factory and going through that, what was it that made you believe that you could really do something different significantly?
I never believed that I couldn't.
Never believed that you couldn't.
Yeah.
Does that stem back to way back in childhood? I remember at one time you talked about your dad and how, you learned from asking questions and him having a response to you about asking questions and having you answer questions yourself. What kind of an impact did that have on your future self?
Vital, because my dad just taught me to think. I would ask him a question, and he'd never give me an answer. He'd ask me a question based on the question I asked him, like, "Dad, how do I do this?" And he'll say, "Well, what do you think you should do?" I'm like, "Dad, what? I'm asking you because I don't know."
Yeah.
And he would say something like, "I'll take any answer, but I don't know."
Yeah.
So it taught me to use my brain even before I just randomly ask a mentor a question.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one thing saying, "All right, Mr. Larry, how do I make $100,000? Well, there's a million answers to that.
Yeah.
But if I come to you and say, "Hey, Mr. Larry, so this is what I've been doing on my journey to make $100,000. What do you see in my plan that I can tweak?" You get a better quality answer.
Yeah.
But my dad taught me to think first,
Right.
and then ask.
Yeah.
So it was vital, bro.
That reminds me of you hear all the time people talk about plan, do, review. But my view of that is that most of the time we don't plan, do, review. We plan, do, report. So we'll make a plan, we'll go out and execute, and then we'll come back and we'll say, "Well, this is what I do. Okay, and then tomorrow let's do it again," and then come back and report it. And you report your numbers, you report your numbers, you report your numbers. But we don't review it. We don't sit down and analyze it.
Yeah.
We don't look at it like film on the football team.
Yeah.
So it's not really plan, do, review. It's plan, do, report.
100%.
And if we did more plan, do, review, then that we would find ourselves in a better position to get to that million than the report that just said, "I did this," and we just keep repeating the same things over and over and over.
Another defining moment, we were at a conference and I saw Darnell Self on stage, and he said, "You have to inspect what you expect."
Yeah.
Defining moment. Like it's these little moments, right? Throughout our lives, there's so many defining moments, but I think we're so busy just working or looking to the future that we miss the moment, the thing that's happening.
Exactly. And that's one of the purposes of this podcast, The Shattered Mindset, is because we have incidents, accidents, experiences, so forth, and many, many times we don't recognize their value. You know, we may sometimes just want to forget about it.
Yeah.
But if we think about it, I think life is a set of lines and dots. And all of the dots have a line that connects to another dot. And there was a dot that happened when you were 10 or 12 that you might not have known it then, but that led to you being here today.
100%.
And can you think of an experience when you were the 10 or 12-year-old David that happened that if you really, really assessed it, it had something to do with the way you think about things overall? I know you shared the experience with your dad, but beyond that, what's an experience that you may have had way back then that defines how you came to where you are?
I'll give the other side of it. My friends used to call me Peanut Head.
Sounds like my son.
Yeah, I peanut-shaped head, right? And they would call me Peanut Head.
Yeah.
But that nickname really did something to me, which is why I have 1,000 hats right now. I have 1,000, but I got a lot of hats.
Yeah.
I try to grow
you
my
literally
hair.
wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, 100%. So I would wear a lot of hats, and I would, grow my hair out. But then my hairline started receding, and that looked crazy. But insecurities around my peanut-shaped head, which, in my mind, I'm thinking there's this like super low dip in my. It's not that big. It's not actually that big.
No.
But as a kid,
it
might as well have been 3 inches deep in my head because I have a peanut head, and that's what people call me.
Yeah.
So it created some insecurities around me showing anybody my head.
Yeah. It's like the monster inside us is bigger than the monster that really is outside.
No matter how big it is.
Yeah.
In my head, it was always bigger.
Always. It's always that way.
Fast forward, I used to, I had a friend that we dated for a little while. And even after we dated for a while, she would never show me her face without makeup. I mean, this is months.
Whoa.
Months.
Whoa.
Insecurity.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody said something when she was a child about a mark on your face.
Yeah.
And I can't let anybody see this because in my mind, this makes me ugly.
Yeah. So
we got to be careful what we say to kids and how we joke to kids and bullying because it lasts for a long time.
Well, I always say that kids in school are very cruel.
Yeah, for sure.
Because whatever comes up comes out, and it doesn't matter how it hits. But how did that, I mean, I can see how it made you decide to wear the hats and different things like that. But did it have any effect on you making decisions about your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wouldn't go to a place that you had to dress up. So the negative side of that is, for a very long time, I didn't learn how to tie my own tie. I didn't really learn how to get suit fresh because I would avoid going to those places where I couldn't wear a hat. Now, what about all the opportunities that could have been in some of these rooms simply because somebody when I was a kid called me Peanut Head?
And you didn't go in the room.
So now we have to face it.
And there might have been somebody in that room that you needed to meet.
For sure. The cool thing is now I've recognized that. So as often as I possibly can, whether I have a haircut or not, I will take this hat off.
Yeah.
No problem. Because I'm consciously fighting against it. Like, this doesn't rule me. So this is another defining moment when I realized I am who I am 100%. You're going to have to like every single aspect of me. That's why in a lot of my content or in my podcast, I share not just the wins, but I probably triple down on the losses because there's nothing I'm embarrassed about. I don't want to be embarrassed about something. My inability to spell words, and I make up words all the time. I had a friend that she was an attorney, and every now and again she'd say a word and I wouldn't know what it meant. So my thought says, what does that mean? What does that mean? She got tired of that thing. She's like, there's no way you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, I don't know. And that friendship didn't last very long because we kind of like dated a little bit, but that didn't last that long because I just didn't know. That could have made me some level of insecurity, but because I started to own who I am, I realized, oh, well, if I can't be me around you, I don't want you around me.
Yeah. I can remember when I learned to laugh at myself as opposed to being hurt by the things that people would say, because people would say stuff to me, all the time. They would call me all kind of names, and it would hurt. And then I learned to laugh, and I even taught my sons, because my middle son, my oldest son, his nickname is Peanut. Because his brother always called him Peanut Head. So his nickname, even today, and he's 40 years old and it's still Peanut, but he doesn't take it the same, because I used to always just tell him, laugh at yourself. And I said, hey, listen, if somebody says you got a peanut head, laugh at it and say, yeah, maybe it is. Look like a peanut head. I don't know. Just laugh at it, pay no attention to it. And when I learned myself to not let other people control how I feel about myself, it made a huge difference.
That's good.
But it also shows that you're a person who thinks deeply about things. And how did your deep thinking lead you to the thought process of verbalizing something that you might have said to somebody in passing? Oh man, sleep is for suckers. How did your thinking bring that to life and turn it into a brand?
Man, if I'm being honest, for one, I don't know if I think deeply about things. I just think about things. I really don't go too many layers deep on thought, because I'll get stuck there. So I don't know if I have like deep thought, but I've been trained to think. So I think a lot. Just maybe not like deep, but I think a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the sleep is for suckers thing, I'm not 100% sure how I came up with it. I really don't know where I got the name from, if I'm being honest with you. But I attribute it to two things. One, my memory. I don't have the best memory. Okay, I just remember certain moments. I don't know where I came. I made this email called sleepisforsuckers@gmail.com, and I don't know why I came up with that. It was years ago.
Wow.
The second thing is, sometimes when you're given something, it's hard to identify how you got it. You know what I mean? Like, so Mary was pregnant, but who could describe it?
Yeah.
But I had something, she had something special. So I don't always remember where the idea came from.
Yeah. But how has it evolved, though, over the years? Maybe because things can be inspired, and you may not know, because sometimes people will say something to me and they'll say, "What, you said something?" I'll say, "I don't even remember what I said."
Yeah, for sure.
I don't remember what I said. So it could have been inspired, and I believe that it was. But how has the meaning of it evolved for you?
Well, as I was working at the Cheesecake Factory, the meaning was really, really big for me, because my philosophy is, if I lose sleep doing what I love, I'll eventually have what I want. Like I just, the only thing that I can give up was my hours of sleep. And I used to sleep till 10 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But if I can cut sleep a little bit, I can just get more done, right?
Yeah.
But then it evolved into a message of entrepreneurship, where you're not just sleeping in a bed, but watching TV all day or gaming all day, and you're not getting paid for it. People are sleepwalking, scrolling on social media. You just sleep.
Yeah.
In this time frame, you are not conscious about what's going on around you. So that message really resonated with a lot of people, which was the message of entrepreneurship, essentially.
Yeah.
And it just kind of evolved from there. And then I just recently changed my brand from Sleep is for Suckers to my name, D. Shands.
Well, you probably needed to do that, because once you became a husband and a father, and you had to start getting home at a certain time and try to get to bed at a certain time, and you turned the clock changed over a little bit on you. You might like,
Bro, I love some sleep. 'Cause
See?
I don't get enough of it, so I value it
See?
so much. I'm like, oh man, if I could just get a little bit more sleep, I love it. But those were in those younger years of me building that.
But conceptually, though, it still means the same.
Yeah, 100%.
When
100%.
you're not. So, in that regard, you really helped a lot of people make the leap from employee to entrepreneur. But not everybody can cross that bridge in the same way at the same time. So what do you think really separates the ones who talk about building something from the ones who really do?
I don't know. I don't know what separates the two. It's just some of them talk about it and some people do it.
But you have you can fall back on the experience of for instance, your influence of your father. So you take a person who doesn't have that same influence, but they want to make a difference, and they say, how can I overcome? What kind of message can you have for a person like that?
Well, I don't know. So I had a dad that gave me some information on how to be an entrepreneur, and he was an entrepreneur. Never made a whole lot of money, but he was an entrepreneur. So one could say, well, because you had a dad that was an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. But my brother has a job, and I be trying to push him in entrepreneurship, and he just, I don't know what's up with him, right?
Yeah.
So you could say, well, because I didn't have a father in my household, I became a womanizer. Or you could say, because I didn't have a dad in my household, I became a real man that's going to take care of women. I mean, I don't know the secret. I really don't know what separates in the brain of a person.
Yeah.
That says, I want something, I'm just not going to go get it.
Yeah.
So people they were asking me, what made you start a business? And I'm like, what made you not start a business? That's a more interesting question for me. I'm trying to understand in your mind.
Yeah.
So I made a post. I want to read this post too, because this lady just made a response post about it. And my post said 721,000 jobs were cut in 2023. 761,000 jobs were cut in 2024.
I read that post.
221,000 jobs cut in January and February of 2025. Entrepreneurship is not optional. Now, this young lady makes a response video, which is cool. I'm not like upset or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just I love the dialogue actually.
Yeah.
But she says, well, just how a job can let you go at any time, a business, customers can stop buying from you.
Right.
And she's 100% correct.
No doubt.
But what she's missing is you don't have to choose one. If you have a job, starting a business doesn't mean you have to get rid of the job. Even if you have a business that doesn't make any money, you can still focus on your job. And if somebody does want that product, you can at least make $30 because you have it now.
Yeah.
But in most people's brain, they shun the option to make extra money. And I don't understand that. I don't get it. Like, why would someone not at least start or try or have something that you can make some money off on the side?
Hey, it's like the lady I talked to just recently, who talked about insecurities, and she said, I don't think I want to do that business because if I make too much money, I'll lose my check.
You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm like, if you make too much money, you'll lose your check. I'm like, that's the idea. You know, that's the point, okay?
Bro.
Because your check is not cutting it. So she didn't get it. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what's the difference between her and somebody who starts a business and takes action? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in your brain.
But, you know, one of the good things about what you do, and the name of your podcast really, really helps with that, is because it's called social proof. And what it does is it provides social proof, you know. And so people who are not necessarily the trailblazers or the pioneers out there can at least attach themselves to that brand and say, it's been done, it's being done, it's proof. I remember when I went to my first LegalShield convention, and I walked in the room and there's like 15,000 people. And I was like, and they're not all wrong. They're just not all wrong,
Right.
you know. And so I had to look at me and make sure, because there was nothing that said that there's a wrong season, there's a wrong demographic, there's a wrong culture,
Yeah.
or whatever, you know. So I had to look at what are the systems that I can put in place to make this work for me,
100%.
because there is social proof that it's working,
Yeah.
you know. So what was the first social proof for you that made you, in your journey, in your business, to say, yeah, in your way of saying, yeah, this is working?
I mean, I think it works when you get some sort of result that's based on what you set out for. So a business might not be working if it's making $500 a month, and somebody might be like, "Oh, this isn't working," unless your goal is to make $500 a month, or your goal is to supplement your income to make $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So everything that I did worked in some way, shape, or form. Whether I knew how to get those first couple sales, or at least I got some sort of network now of successful people that are in this space.
Yeah.
So everything worked. I mean, I was working at the Cheesecake Factory. My goal was to leave the job, and I knew I needed to make at least $4,000 a month to leave the job. If I made the first $100, it's working, because somebody bought, somebody else will buy.
Yeah.
So I've always, the best way to get some social proof or to get some evidence that it works is to set a target.
Did you have, and you started your podcast journey out, you know, small, which everybody should, and you were doing things like the Dorito guy, and I don't know how you came up with that concept. It was just,
I just be doing stuff.
yeah, just, you know, I know they sent you a lot of royalty checks for those.
Not a dime.
Not a dime.
Not a dime. I wish. Doritos, holla at me, man. We'll keep
They
those
still
back up
owe you, right?
for sure.
When did you bring someone on that had a conversation that hit you way in the gut, you know, and made you think, wow, I'm challenged, man. I'm really challenged big time. This person has elevated my thinking, and I'm not thinking big enough.
Yeah. One day, we've been into the podcast for a little while at this point, and me and Donnie, we were like, yo, we're going to jump on and we're going to talk about how we're going to make our first million. At this time, we didn't make our first million in a year. And I said, you know what? Let me call my friend AD. So his name's AD Dolphin. Guy's running a multi-million dollar business out in California. It's one of my favorite people. It's just dope.
Yeah.
He runs a company called D Herbs. So I called AD. I said, yo, I'm about to do this episode, man. Me and Donnie, we want to know, what is your advice on how to make the first million? And he said, if you want to make your first million, make 10.
You want to make your first million, make 10.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, sounds deep. I kind of, okay, explain that. He said, go make 10 million. You'll make your first million. I'm like, all right, AD, I understand. Which, of course, if I made 10 million, I'll have made my first million.
Absolutely.
But what he was saying is, think past the million.
Yeah.
Come up with a plan that's going to make 10 million. Go after 10 million. You'll stumble on the first million. I said, oh. So my goal was to make $1 million, which is why I kept falling short.
Did you just grasp that immediately? Or
No,
did you,
it took a while. It took a while for me to really understand it, because I'm like, how do I make $10 million?
Yeah, because if I don't know how to make $1 million, how do I make my brain think about making 10 million? I mean, I get the concept, because I always say, listen, if I got a goal, if this is my goal at number 3, then I need to think about number 5 to get there. But that's like 10xing the whole thing.
Yeah, but it's not as deep as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So
why do you think that?
Let's say, for instance, you were going to take a trip from wherever you live to downtown Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
You have to plan a little bit. Like, okay, I got to go at this time, avoid traffic. This is the direction. I'll get there.
Yeah.
Right? But you're like, okay, well, what if you're going to plan a trip for a week out of the country?
Right.
Could you plan it?
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course you could.
It's just thinking, okay, what do I need? What type of, what flight am I going to get on? Where am I going to stay? What am I going to do when I get there? It's you're asking yourself a bunch of questions to 10x what you already know how to do. I'm going to go downtown to this event. It's travel is travel. But the thought process of planning to get out of the country, it's not that you don't have the thought or the idea. You just haven't sat down and planned it out. So the reason that this started to make sense to me was I asked myself not how am I going to make $1 million? My question was, if I'm going to make $10 million, how would I do it?
Yeah.
The activity's got to change.
It does change. It's kind of like thinking about driving to Chicago. Now, you might have thought, I don't know how I'm going to get to Nashville, if that's what you're thinking. But when you decide to think about driving to Chicago, you don't really think about Nashville.
100%.
You think about it's like going out of the country. You're not thinking about your trip to New York and how to get to New York. That's just the throughway now.
100%.
Yeah.
And you might find yourself in Nashville.
Yeah.
Mad that you didn't reach your goal to Chicago, but if you'd have, the initial thing was Nashville. You feel what I'm saying? Right. So I think people don't give themselves enough credit or give themselves enough time to sit down and think. Like, just think for it. I wish everybody had my dad. He just trained me to think. Thinking is something that you have to practice, and we just don't.
But, you talked about people having a, wanting $1 million results, and having minimum wage mindsets. I've heard that. But how do you train for that? How do you train people who come to you? How do you train? Because people got to rewire to do that. How do you mentor for that?
Put them in an environment where the conversation is happening. Eventually you'll get it. You know what I mean? They tell you if you want to learn Spanish, you can learn it on, what is that, Rosetta Stone?
Yeah.
You can learn it or take a class.
Yeah.
But if you really want to learn it, just go to Puerto Rico.
For sure.
Go to Mexico. Go somewhere where they only speak the language, and eventually you speak the language.
Yeah.
So how do I train my daughter how to speak English when she's never spoken English? She's a baby.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time, and like these words start to come up.
Didn't have to teach it. Just have to keep talking.
If you get in the right environment, it's amazing the stuff that you'll learn.
And I think that's where the 7-Figure Podcast program really shines.
Yeah.
That in the Morning Meetup program, I think that they really shine in putting people in those different environments.
Yeah.
And put people in a lot of environments, and help you really think. I mean, it's been very, very helpful and beneficial for me just to sit there and listen. So sometimes I might ask a question, but most of the time I don't need to. Well, let me ask you this. How did you find your message? Because, you want to go into entrepreneurship, but what you do is not just about, finding a way to earn $1 million, but you had to develop a message. How did you find your message?
Just having it for a while. I've always talked about entrepreneurship, always.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been, near and dear to my heart, just the thought process that you can have an idea and turn it into something, and the thing you turned into something can make money. I've just always been fascinated with it. So even the Sleep is for Suckers message was like, yo, you got to build something. You don't got to not sleep if you're going to just work your job every day. You're fine. Yeah. But if you're going to build something in between your job, you got to start something. So it wasn't like a turning moment. It was something that I always believed in. And I think there's a lot of people out there, it's something that you're passionate about already, but for some reason you feel like you're not qualified. But we just started, bro. I didn't have to go searching for a message.
Yeah.
I've always focused on entrepreneurship. What's a way to build a business? Well, starting a podcast is a great way to have some sort of exposure for your business. So I'm teaching podcasting, not because I'm changing my message, but because it's a pathway to build your entrepreneurial career.
You think about those people coming up and the ones that tease and things like that. What is something about the earlier version of David that might really surprise people about you and where you are today?
I was a rapper. And I wanted to be a rapper,
Yeah.
a battle rapper.
You wanted to be a battle rapper.
Yeah, I was a battle rapper, and I was good at it.
Were you good at it?
Yeah, man. I was really, you know how many people I shot and how much cocaine I sold in my raps? Oh. I was just so impressed by the way words come together.
Yeah.
And how you can make someone say, "Ooh, that was dope."
Did anything on wax?
I hope nobody finds this stuff. I hope nobody finds this stuff. And I got video of myself. I remember digging up the footage years later.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking at it. And this isn't like just to be deep or nothing like that. I had to look closer. Are you sure that's me?
Is that me?
I didn't recognize me.
Yeah.
Oh, the things that were coming out of my mouth. Oh my gosh.
But I say that all the time. When we look at people today, that's not necessarily the person that they're going to be. Mm-hmm. And so I look back, and all of us can look back on something and say, how did I do that? Mm-hmm. I know I can. Yeah. How did I do that? Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I did that. Yeah. And don't even ask me what some of those things were.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But as thinking about that as a father now and as a mentor yourself, what are some of the values that you are really intentional about passing on to people around you, your children and other people?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, but just thinking.
Just thinking.
Yeah, if I can get people to think, if I can get my kids to think, everything's going to be okay. Because you can think through a lot of roadblocks in your head.
Do you think of that as a value or a process?
I think it's a value.
Do you?
One of my core values is to think.
Yeah. Okay.
Use my brain. My dad used to say, use your brain, son.
Yeah.
He said it once, he said it 1,000 times. Use your brain. It's a value of mine.
Yeah.
I don't ever want anybody to say this guy doesn't use his brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what my teaching style isn't. You should do this, and a lot of times I'll just ask a bunch of questions and get the person to use their brain and put the stuff together in yourself. So
how do you do that to maintain your own inner peace with all of the stuff going on around you?
What do you mean?
I mean, how do you protect your own peace in your own mind? You got this going and that going. How do you bring yourself down?
I'm going to go home by 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah?
To the house. I'm going to be with my kids.
That's not always easy to do.
Never easy to do.
Yeah.
Especially when there's so many things to go. And I might be in launch mode of launching something. We're launching Podcast Summit. So it's going to be, a challenge. But that's one way. The other way is I live by this philosophy. And I created it years ago. That said, I'm going to do everything I can today. The rest I'll do tomorrow. Tomorrow's coming.
I'm going to do everything I can today. The rest I'll do tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah. I used to try to do it all today, as if tomorrow's not coming. And I used to stress myself out. And every day I'm just taking to the mat. I got to get it done. I'm like, I'm going to do what I can today. Tomorrow I'll handle other stuff. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Yeah. What have you, you talked about seeing me there many years ago in a different place. What have you seen recently since I've emerged into this space?
You're an amazing student. Student and execution, bro. As you said, the student becomes the teacher, but the teacher should never stop being a student.
Never.
So I am both a student and a teacher of life, of people. There's some young, fresh entrepreneur that's got a bunch of ideas, and I'm a student to that stuff because that kid knows something. They know something.
Yeah.
So you are incredibly driven, and you clearly have a vision, and you're not going to stop until you get it.
For sure.
And you're willing to gather all the information that you need, and you're never going to stop searching and looking and asking questions. And I do the same thing.
Sometimes I'm in a slow cooker, but something you said that dreams are slow cooked, not microwave. And tell me something that maybe happened in your life that was better that it didn't come quickly.
I mean, everything. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have children in my 20s.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I was working as a full-time. I was a full-time entrepreneur since October 1st, 2012. So 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm an entrepreneur full-time these whole years.
Yeah.
Pandemic hits in 2020.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing my thing. But something happened in the economy where the floodgates turned on, where there's money everywhere. It's raining from the heavens. Everybody's got money. So much so that nobody wants to go to work because I can make more not going to work than working at my job.
For sure.
It's money everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I had those 8 years of consistently being an entrepreneur so that when it was like the golden opportunity for any type of service provider or whatever, especially being black, it was just out of this world. I was prepared. Yeah. And we grew and made a bunch of money. But I was smart enough to know that money just doesn't come easy.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of the money and put it into real estate.
Yeah.
Stuff that pays me today. Like this building, I paid it off because like the floodgates were just open, right?
Yeah.
But for someone that just jumped into entrepreneurship 2020, 2021, they think this is what it's like and it's always coming. So they bought the big house and big cars and spent the money as fast as they got it because they don't understand what it's like to hustle and grind and struggle for that dollar.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad I didn't start my entrepreneurial career off where it's just everything is amazing and everything is up and the money comes easily. Yeah. I'm so glad.
Hey, real quick, since today's guest is David Shands, I've got to put you onto something game-changing. David and Carlos Quinney Jr., CJ, you might know him from the Secrets to Success podcast with Eric Thomas. They've created the My Seven Figure podcast course. If you're an entrepreneur, coach, or creative looking to launch or grow a podcast that actually builds your brand and drives revenue, this course is the blueprint. Inside, they cover everything from branding and monetization to interviewing and legal tips. Plus, how to structure a show that stands out in a noisy world. I'm an affiliate for a reason. I believe in it and I've seen what it can do. Just click the link in the show notes to get started. It's time to stop playing small with your voice. Let's build something that lasts. Enroll in the My Seven Figure podcast course today. I tell people that in my other business, I say the one thing I can wish for you is that you'll fail early.
Hurry up and fail. Hurry up.
Fail early. Somebody said, this is not working. I'm having a problem. I said, that is so good. They said, what do you mean that's good? I said, it's really good. I said, because you can get through it and you can help other people get through it and you can be better for it and it won't be traumatic when it hits you down the road.
That's a fact.
Because everybody's going to hit a wall, multiple walls, Hit the wall early.
Yeah, I love it.
If you can get past the wall, you can do anything.
Yes, sir.
Because you got something that you can think back on.
That's true.
All the time. I remember my wife was talking about my older son, who's an adult now, and she would say, he's just not listening. He's just not listening. And I would say, well, keep saying it. Keep saying it. He'll get it when he's ready. She said, well, he needs to be ready now. And I'm like, but he's not mature enough to be ready now for everything. But when the time comes, he will. And it does. It does. But you just got to keep putting it in, even when it hurts, even when it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this on the backside of this. What message can you leave, will you leave this audience with? if you would?
Go after it. Don't let anyone be able to tell you that you didn't try.
Yeah.
Just don't let anyone be able to say that person's full of ideas, but they just never go after it. There's nobody can say I didn't go after it. Win, lose, or draw.
Yeah.
I go after it. Like, I would rather, like, I got this vision, man, of being around my kids and my grandkids and telling all these cool stories, whether the stories are about wins or losses. I got some stories. I don't care if you never make any money. I got some stories of how I lost $10,000 or how I did this real estate deal, lost $15,000. I remember taking I just want cool stories of of an eventful life, win, lose, and draw.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you that don't let anyone be able to say that you didn't try. You didn't give it your all.
Okay.
Give it your all. Just go after it. Tomorrow's coming. You'll do something today. You don't make any money. You lose all your money. Tomorrow, it's not a permanent thing. Like, it's not like the fact that you have no money right now. In 10 years, you'll still have no money unless you're doing foolish things with your money. But more money's coming. It's coming, right? So go after it. You get one life. While you have the time and the energy and the passion, move on it.
Yeah. Les Brown says that one of the worst things to do is to live an unlived life.
Yeah. That'd be so sad.
Wow, an unlived life.
Well, imagine that.
This has been just a joy for me and an honor in a magnanimous way. I know how to reach you. Is there anything you want to share about how people should reach out?
For sure, man. Go to themorningmeetup.com. Just meet me every single morning. Every single morning, I'm on a call with entrepreneurs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are teaching and we are cooking. We've created an environment where it's okay to grow and it's okay to not know everything and it's okay to connect with other people. We've just created an environment of entrepreneurs from around the country that just tap in every single morning. So, themorningmeetup.com.
That's good, and I would just end with that. But since you mentioned that morningmeetup.com, it's a daily a call Zoom every day, and you're on it every day. And you don't have to be. How do you do that? Why do you do that? Every single day, you're there. 8 o'clock in the morning.
I do it because I need it.
What does that mean?
So I'm not on the call because you need me on the call. I'm on the call because I need to be around that energy. So I'm telling people to get in the right environment where the energy is happening, where the information is happening and it's flowing. I need it too.
Yeah.
So it's not like a job where I wake up like, oh, I gotta do the morning meetup again. I get so excited to come see these future millionaires and multimillionaires, and there's people that come from the morning meetup that'll be way more successful than I am. I get excited about that stuff.
Did you know that when you set it up?
Hmm?
Did you know that when you pulled it together?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It takes a tremendous commitment on your part to do that.
See, I don't think so though.
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
you bring so much. It's like and the things that you bring every day, you have to take the time to prepare that. This is not stuff that you just throw out. You had to prepare for that consistently. And so you make a sacrifice to do that. And I know that you get a lot out of it. You give a lot.
Yeah.
And to do that, you got to dig deep to do that. And I admire you for that.
I'm blessed, man. I'm extremely blessed to be in a situation where I can help some people. I love it.
Thanks,
I love
man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, folks, I'm just again excited to have had this gentleman, my mentor, here in this space. It's just great to be associated with him. And so, listen, I'm just going to ask if you will just keep adapting, keep reaching, keep growing, keep charging for that next higher horizon. We'll see you next time on the Shattered Mindset Podcast. Take care. Take charge. God bless.